But we're all about standards and values here at Smacking Off.
I'm the great smack talker on the fucking face of the earth right now.
You're just jealous of my shine.
James and they're tripping on acid, man. This is going to be a great episode.
I try to do my part, guys.
SEC player of the year, bro. Come on, that's like being the smartest kid in your special ed class. Bro, ain't nobody take that seriously.
Are you pooping?
I believe that's what they call
You're
it.
pooping. I don't hear pee sounds, dude. You're making...
Those Iowa beats so goddamn brains out.
No, USC is far better than Oklahoma historically.
Don't be ridiculous right now.
You fucking talking?
What the fuck are you saying about the SEC, bro?
Dude, whatever you're smoking, buy a ton of it.
Meatloaf is moist as my pussy gets. I promise you that.
Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still going to have it.
Smacking off the podcast.
Bro, I'm gonna be a SoundCloud rapper, bro.
That is the best thing you've ever said on this show. And welcome back to Smacking Off the podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my producer, co-host. Welcome to our Friday night edition. Doug,
Friday night edition. We're recording it Tuesday, though.
Yeah, so, I mean, technically it is Tuesday night, but this is for Friday night.
Right. And, any of you motherfuckers got a problem with it?
I wish we could.
The only problem I got is I'll be at a high school football game on Friday.
You'll be here.
You're
Yeah,
here.
I'll be there.
Yeah, you're here. Yeah, you're. That's the beauty of it. We can all still do the things we had planned Friday, and still be on the show.
Yeah, we're talking to people from Friday right now. It's kind of like time travel, but different.
Yeah.
So we're actually in the future right now.
There is no lightning bolt at the clock tower needed for this.
All right, now these these betting lines that I'm.
Shit! We just jumped right over the fact that we're joined with Keith Lee. Keith, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. How about y'all?
We're doing absolutely wonderful. Keith is our guest picker for the week. We've got a few games coming up tomorrow, which, because you're listening to this Friday, will be Saturday.
And I'm going to just go ahead and say this. We're going to be spitting out some betting lines.
That will probably change.
They're Tuesday's betting lines, so don't come at me with this. No, this fucking line is not this, it's this. So this is Tuesday, motherfucker.
It's like Mackenzie said on our live segment, which was actually live on Tuesday. Because you're listening to this on Friday, but it would still kind of live for us. Our ears are still ringing.
Right, because Tuesday we knew that this was going to be going out Friday.
She said, "Don't at me." So, yeah, don't at Doug.
That's where I got it.
Or myself about these betting lines.
Right.
Okay.
All right, Keith, you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
It's almost like a game show, except
it seems like it.
Yeah, I don't. We still haven't come up with a prize for the one that actually nails the most picks throughout the course. Who's our leader right now?
You're gonna fly there and fuck them.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Keith, I would prefer if you go absolutely perfect this week. I would prefer you not look me in the eyes when I come visit you. Okay.
You can do that.
Yeah. Look down the whole time. Let's start off with the Wisconsin Badgers at Penn State. Penn State's favored by 8, and Penn State got their ass reamed. I'm talking about reamed by Michigan.
Ever since they lost that game in the end on what I think was a bad play call, they haven't been just a whole lot.
You talking about Ohio State game?
Yes, the Ohio State game. I thought they had Ohio State beat.
That was a heartbreaker for them. It really was.
It was a heartbreaker for them, and they just hadn't been the same team since then.
So you think that game has lost other games for them?
Had a ripple effect on the remainder of their season.
It's had a ripple effect. They're just indecision, and you can see it. I can't think of the coach's name right now, but he just really indecisive.
James Franklin, the former head coach for Vanderbilt. I'm a fan.
Yes.
I am a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you something about ripples. Wisconsin is not a ripple.
Yeah.
No, Wisconsin's not a ripple.
And here's the weird thing about this, though.
Front.
We're talking about two teams that were seriously considered at the beginning of the season for showing up in the playoffs.
This was a huge game. If you're looking at it in preseason, it's like Wisconsin at Penn State. It was circled.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ain't nobody circling it this week.
Now, not to diminish this game for either fan of either team that's listening right now.
Wisconsin don't have any fans.
Yeah, but they're not on social media anyway.
No, not at all.
No,
But seriously though, I mean, this game is not near as sexy as it was. No. Keith, how do you feel about the outcome of this one?
I thought about going with Wisconsin on this one, but I think Penn State's going to win a close, low-scoring game. I don't see just a whole lot of offense out of them. Either one of them, I'll go with like a 28-21 ball game maybe in Penn State.
Let's go. Ohio State is playing at Michigan State. Ohio State is favored by a measly 3.5 in this game.
Ohio State's looking for another game to lose. They really are.
And this would be a good one.
At Michigan State.
Wow, what's her name?
Sparty's going to be pretty good in this one, I think, and it's at home. I think I'll go with Michigan State in the upset in this one.
You know, I'm with you on that. I really think that's going to happen. Ohio State has been playing with fire, and this team, you know, I don't know. Something's not right.
You know, they're going to let Haskins throw that little 5-yard out pass all day long. That's where he's getting a lot of his stats. And unless they can go deep with the ball, I don't see Ohio State being able to throw deep with any success. And I think Michigan just wears them out in the end. That little 5-yard out's not going to do it for them.
Quick detour.
I got Michigan State in the upset.
Quick detour. Is Urban Meyer the coach at Ohio State next year? I think that's a more fascinating conversation.
He's gone. I think he'll be gone after this year.
Medical reasons?
Probably. That seems to be his out most of the time.
Quotation marks.
Maybe serious.
He's already actually started that dialogue about his health. So
yeah, and it's not his heart this time. Now it's his head.
Right.
Yeah, it's his head this time. Yeah. So I think this may be his last year if they underachieve the rest of the year like it looks like they might do.
So what do you think the score is going to be on this Michigan State Ohio State game?
28-21.
We got the Horny Toads of TCU headed to West Virginia.
TCU's done for the year. West Virginia big.
West Virginia's up. TCU stock has fallen heavily.
West Virginia favored by 12.5.
I will say this though: TCU's defense is still ranked in the top 30, and that could be a problem. I haven't checked their individual stats for against the pass.
You think like
Will Greer is just lighting it up?
They creep up and beat somebody they're not supposed to beat at some point.
Perhaps. I mean, this is going to be tough for them to win this game at
maybe
West
Oklahoma
Virginia.
State at the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe.
Are you trying to find some more losses for Oklahoma State?
No, not really. I look at TCU and I think that's one that they could accidentally win just because Oklahoma State's really just not just consistent on offense.
Gotcha.
And their defense isn't half bad at TCU, but they've lost all their playmakers.
True.
All right, so you said West Virginia big. We won't even pin you down on the score. Yeah, they're going to cover the 12.5. All right, Mississippi State is headed to Tuscaloosa to play the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama is favored by almost 26 points at this current on Tuesday. Because remember, we are listening to the show on Friday.
Yeah,
right.
The line started at 24.
That line's going to change a whole lot between now and then. Yeah, Alabama to cover.
Alabama. That's been a pretty good bet. Pretty much just about all year long. If you're a huge Alabama fan and have taken Alabama to cover the spread, what is Alabama versus the spread this year? I think
they covered against LSU.
Yeah, they definitely covered.
I think the only way they don't
LSU
cover is if Tua gets hurt and they have to bring in Hurts. Well, get a little bit out of sync, maybe.
Hurts is a little wobbly right now himself.
Yeah, they might actually bring in the third stringer, Mac Jones, who is a capable quarterback.
He actually looked better than Hurts.
He kind of reminds me. of maybe AJ, or maybe just a kind of slight step below AJ a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, he's not awful. He's definitely not.
He's somebody come in and manage the game.
Yeah. And he has proven definitely to be a game manager in the few opportunities we've gotten a chance to see him this season. Of course, we got a chance to take a look at him up close in the spring game, and he seemed to be a very efficient game manager. And I don't see where there will be any drop off for that, but I certainly hope that scenario doesn't play out.
Definitely.
You got a score prediction on this, Keith?
Alabama to cover. I think they'll be in the 50s. Mississippi State in the 20s.
Okay.
They'll cover.
All right. Staying in the SEC, we've got the Kentucky Wildcats headed to the Tennessee Volunteers.
The number 11 Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah. Yes. And I think I've already made a prediction on one of the threads in the group. I think Tennessee is going to get the upset in this one.
Wow.
Don't ask me why. Just something said Tennessee's going to put something together this weekend.
Low scoring?
Kentucky's, I think it'd be a low score, maybe 21-17, something like that.
Okay.
Kentucky's coming off a loss where they thought they might have won, and I just think it'd be a little overwhelming for them. I don't know.
All right, this next one is for Mack Truck exclusively. This is Northwestern is headed to Iowa this week.
Iowa's favored by 10 in this game.
Yeah, it's at Iowa. I just don't know a whole lot about Northwestern. I think Iowa's going to rebound. I think they're going to have a pretty good game. They're capable of scoring in the 30s. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about Northwestern. I hadn't seen them play.
Northwestern took Michigan to the wire, and they gave Notre Dame fits for about 3 quarters.
Yeah. I think I'll still go with Iowa. I think they're out to prove something, and I think they'll get the win at home. We'll say 33-24.
And I think that's the magic number in this game, too. I think the magic number is like 28. Provided that Iowa scores 28 or more points, I think they're going to get the win. With
Iowa is a very good defensive team.
Oh, man, they're incredible. Yeah, incredible defensive team.
All right.
Yeah.
And now this one's all right. Yeah. And now this one's interesting. Virginia Tech at Pitt, which is leading their division in the ACC. Which division is Pitt in? The Coastal?
They're in the Coastal, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they're only favored by 2.5 points in this game, though. So this is a really this one could go either way.
I watched their head coach play high school football here in Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah, he actually played for Oklahoma.
Justin Fuente.
He was an Oklahoma quarterback, wasn't
he? Yes, he did quarterback at Oklahoma. This will piss Andy off because she thinks it's all about Oklahoma. But he played at Oklahoma when Schnellenberger was there. I believe was the coach.
Oh, okay.
For 1 year along in there somewhere.
So how do you feel about this game?
I'm going to have to go with the Virginia Tech. I think they're playing for something. They're wanting to get that ACC championship game. I think they'll just have a little bit more for Pitt than what Pitt can handle. Yeah, somewhere in the 30s. We'll go 35-28.
Calling all cats. 2 new cat foods from Little Friskies in your favorite flavors. Country chicken, savory, braised liver. Where's original ocean fish? Glad you asked.
See? All 3 of your favorite flavors. They're so easy to serve right from the box. No liquid to add. New country chicken. New braised liver. Original ocean fish.
They're exclusive in Little Friskies dry cat foods. I knew you couldn't wait.
Smacking Off invites you to join us on the podcast. If you have an opinion on an upcoming game, some commentary on your conference, or want to roll with one of your fellow smackers on air, hit us up. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages, email me at maddenshannon@toothfairy.com, or call us on the Smack Line, 304-508-BAIT. And as always, fuck your team. Oregon at Utah. Utah's favored by 3.
Them Utes got embarrassed last week.
Yeah, they did. I don't know. Oregon.
Yeah, didn't they get embarrassed, and then all the talking heads on TV said they're going to win the Pac-12?
The people,
or something like that.
That was Sky Anastasian.
Them fellas on the ESPN Game Day all said that they thought they had a good shot to win the Pac.
They must have talked to Sky Anastasian.
That was before the Sun Devils kicked their ass.
Yeah.
I'm not much of an Oregon fan for the way Oklahoma got screwed up every 1 year, so I'll just have to go with Utah on this one. I haven't got to really watch.
Utah at home is a safe bet, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is too. As far as the score, I think it'll be close in the end. Let's go about 38-33.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Oregon. Oregon don't play great defense. Utah at home. Oregon does play great offense, though.
Pack game, you can expect.
2 weeks ago, I would have swore to you that there's no way the Ducks are losing at Utah, but things have changed.
Things have
quick.
changed.
All right, we've got the South's oldest rivalry. Auburn is going to Athens to play the Georgia Bulldogs.
This was a much sexier game at the very beginning of the season.
It's still an interesting game.
It is, but I mean, especially after the dominant performance that Georgia had over Kentucky. I mean, you kind of figure that it's roughly going to be around the same kind of game against Auburn.
Key stat.
This particular Auburn.
Key stat, Auburn had under 20 yards rushing against Texas A&M. Somehow figured out how to win. If they go to Georgia and can't get over 20 yards rushing, it's going to be a long day.
If you didn't look at the stats, if you didn't look at the score and just showed me the stats of that Auburn Texas A&M game, I would have said, man, Auburn got destroyed in this thing, and then flipped over and saw the score. I couldn't believe it because I actually just looked at the stats out of curiosity. I didn't watch any of the game at all. And I looked at the stats after I saw the score and was just floored by Auburn's complete lack of offense in that game.
Yep. How do you feel about this, Keith?
Well, it does have some playoff implications in it. I mean, if Georgia gets beat, they're pretty much out of it.
Maybe.
I want Georgia to lose because it helps my Sooners, but I've got to pick Georgia to win. I think they win big too. I think I will go 38-21.
Here's two of your favorite teams, Keith. The Longhorns of Texas are headed to Texas Tech.
This is strange because this game is damn near a pick 'em. It's a 1.5 right now.
Point and a half. You got to figure out which Texas team.
No, that's Texas Tech getting a little bit of love for being at home.
Well, this is true, and this is also. Texas has lost this season, but they've lost close.
Yeah.
Every what they have 2 losses now or 3? I can't remember.
3.
And they've all been close. Every one of them been within a touchdown.
Did Texas Tech get their starting quarterback back?
I don't know.
Because he got hurt, didn't play in the second half of our game last week. I think that that hurt him.
I'll tell you this: with with Texas favored by 1.5 at Texas Tech, I would say that would be an indicator. I think
for game time.
I think that he's ready because I think if he wasn't, I think that they probably wouldn't have a line right now. They would have had it off.
They may not, so that's probably a good indicator. That's right. Man, Red Raiders or Shorthorns?
I know who you're pulling for.
Texas Tech here.
That's who I was going to tell. That's who I was going to say you were pulling for.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech, and if they got their starter back, the kid looked really good for a freshman, and I think they'll get the job done in we'll say 40-35.
The Clemson Tigers at Boston College. Clemson is favored by 20.5 in this game. Boston College is ranked, what was that, number 17th?
Yeah, somewhere around in there. I remember seeing them. Clemson all the way. I think they cover. This is one of them games they have a chance to go on the road and make a statement. I think they'll pull out all stops and they'll make that statement.
It looks just like every other season. It's Alabama, Clemson, and everybody else at the moment.
The last few years definitely has been.
And it
definitely has been.
Yeah. Now, of course, this is at Boston College, and this could actually be one of those weird.
BC can run,
like Syracuse last year.
BC can run,
but
those
strange games that nobody sees coming.
But BC, the problem here is that BC is a running team, and if they can run, they get a rhythm. They can play with anybody. The problem is that is Clemson's strength is stopping the run.
Yeah.
So it's strength on strength here, and whoever imposes their will.
I think it'd be that big defense of Clemson.
All right, now here's one that you probably not that interested in, but we're going to throw it in at the end.
Okay.
Here. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma.
Bedlam.
Little brother. Little brother. Which team's going to show up for him? At Oklahoma, 2:30 in the afternoon, it's going to be a good time for kickoff. I've got to pick my Sooners, and I don't think Oklahoma State can score 50, and I think we're going to put 50 on them. I just don't know what we can hold them to. If we hold them, I think we can hold them in the 30s. We'll say 56-34.
Fun fact: Oklahoma is slightly improved from last year on defense, but not much. And,
I don't know that I can agree with you on that. It's the same players, and we're still making the same mistakes. Poor tackling. We've got guys in the right place that just can't make the play. And that's been part of our downfall this year, just poor tackling.
And that's the dangerous part of this game is because, Oklahoma State can throw.
Yes, they can. If, Corn Dog, their quarterback there. And I think, part of their problem is I don't think they're using their running back Justin Hill quite right. I think they should use him more often. But I don't think they can score in the 50s on us, and I think we'll get 50. So, I think just a couple of stops, and we can turn this game real quick.
Okay.
And we'll win it going away.
For the people listening to this broadcast, that would be tomorrow night.
Yeah.
No, that would be tomorrow night. You're right, because we're in the future right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so, Keith, we appreciate it, man.
All right, see y'all later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Barkeep, what do you got that's real good? Good beer, Mr. James. Good beer, Mr.
just a mystery shame. Its foam has made its name. No finer draft root beer in the land.
Draft root beer, just one of 14 great Shasta flavors.
It's no good beer to me. No finer draft root beer in the land. Shasta, no finer draft root beer in the land.
Dice come Camo Perdue and Walter Bryant to smacking off the podcast.
Keep the fucking drives going. And
you mean like on the 1 yard line?
Yeah, I mean like last week we had
problems too. So
we had no turnovers last week.
Yeah.
We managed to pull off a win. You know, it wasn't pretty, but we won.
My concern is that you know, and we've shown this already when we played LSU. I believe anyhow. You know, I think we may be looking ahead to that Bama game, and we're going to come out there with a chip on our shoulder, trying to prove that we can play with Bama, much less beat them. And I just hope we're not looking ahead.
Well, you've already clinched your division.
Yeah.
Same with
Bama. I hope we're not looking ahead. You know,
you definitely are looking ahead. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But I think they realize this is a big game. I think both teams will come out, you know, hitting hard. It'll be.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one, I think.
I think if Smart will just show Georgia the film of the game at Jordan Hare last year, that should alert them to what can happen.
You can definitely pump up kids of that age with that kind of that you know, locker room board material.
And then most of them were probably on the squad, so they actually remember it.
What you see in that film last year, though, is you see, you know, the pressure getting to Fromm, which he played pretty poorly in that game.
Right.
After the pressure
he hasn't been playing that great this year either. And I think that's what a lot of us fear is we just haven't been as consistent. But we're playing a whole lot of freshmen and sophomores. We don't really have any leaders on the team. You know what I mean? So when we start getting down, we stay down. And that's the problem.
Yep.
I believe Georgia has the talent, though. I mean, if that were my offense, I think Holyfield would probably get a few more touches.
Yeah,
I mean, Holyfield and Swift and Mecole and Ridley, that's enough to really pull an offense down the field.
You have to keep in mind, though, and I think this is becoming more evident in the past couple of weeks, last week for sure. I think Swift's been injured this year more than they've let on. But, you know, when you see him get those touches last week, he's making men look like boys. What no one thought he would.
Who's the starting tailback?
Well, that's the thing.
Holyfield, in my opinion.
Yeah. But Holyfield just Swift has that breakout capability. Holyfield is more, he's going to pound you. He's going to pound you.
And he does.
But Swift has that, Swift can cut on you and you know, give
you he can score it anywhere on the field, as they say.
Yeah.
And so can Mecole and some of your other. Well, I mean, Georgia's got some pretty impressive athletes. I think their line has underperformed a time or two this year. Not bad, not really bad, but just not as well as you'd expect. But like I said, if it were me, I think Auburn's game plan this weekend first is we got to stop Holyfield, because I really see Holyfield as being a threat to our defense. But we play well against the run. Our Achilles heel is really that we can't put pressure on a quarterback.
And you don't have a big physical back like he did last year.
We don't, but I would put it all on the defense. Even if we had, I've said this before, if Holland were there this year, I think we'd be nearly undefeated. Just that element alone can really change the game. Because you're basically fucking up their offense when you get to their quarterback. I mean, that's how you stop drives. That's how you force third downs. That's how you get the ball back.
Well, tell me this, Walter. All right, if there's a threat that I need to be looking for as a Georgia fan when I'm watching the game, because you know we don't keep up with other teams as often as we should. Who should I be looking for? Who do you think could be a game changer for Auburn?
For Auburn, it's got to be one person. Well, two. I'll throw two names out there. Ryan Davis is a playmaker. Sometimes he makes a huge play. He can score. He can score from anywhere on. But it's got to be on Jarrett Stidham. It's got to be Jarrett Stidham has to have a good game for Auburn to win. It's been that way all season.
Going to have a great game for Auburn to win this game.
You know, speaking of, I think, I don't know if anyone's noticed this yet, but this is probably going to be the year that snaps Auburn's 1,000-yard rusher streak. I think Booby's sitting somewhere around 600 yards so far this year. And, you know, he's banged up. He's not getting all the carries. So that's like a 10-year streak that probably going to go down this year unless somebody plays really huge. But that's been our inefficiency on offense. Turnovers have killed us, and they always will. Alabama will lose if they turn the ball over 3 times. I mean, it happens. How are all the Alabama fans feeling, Doug and Shannon? I hadn't spoke to you guys in a while.
I'm
Coming
feeling
off the big LSU win.
I mean, how are we supposed to feel?
Is that pretty much what you expect?
Fucking winners.
I mean, yeah, I've done my very best this week to kind of lay back on all of that. It almost kind of it's almost like you have to be apologetic about being an Alabama fan when they convincingly destroy the number 3 team in the nation. And I mean, LSU, we're not talking about a preseason ranking, kind of like FSU last year.
No, they earned it.
We're talking about an earned number 3 ranking, and we just completely demolished them in their own house, a very tough place to win.
And it only dropped them to 7.
I'm not looking forward to this championship game.
Doug just brought up a really good point that they only dropped to 7 with that loss. I mean, and then that's has a lot to do with the public perception of the way Alabama's playing right now. So I don't want to rub it in.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm doing my best not to rub it in. We have arguably the best quarterback in college football right now.
Agreed.
Timothy Bailey would disagree with me on that, but
I've said he's the number 1 overall eventual pick. So I agree with that.
I agree with you.
He will probably, if he continues to stay healthy, because again, that knee is we get a lot of conflicting reports on that knee. There's a lot of talk out of Tuscaloosa saying he's fine, and then we watch him.
He favored it. I saw that. He looked a little banged up and susceptible this weekend.
You saw that. You saw the touchdown that he ran in.
Here's what the trainers are saying.
Yes.
You can't make a sprain. He can't make the sprain worse, but it hurt him to run to sprint that touchdown because
how well he played though.
Right.
I mean, even through.
But what they're saying is he's got no chance of making the sprain worse. It's a sprain.
Yeah.
It's not going to get worse, but I mean he could get injured, but it's not going to be.
I didn't know he was that fast. I honestly didn't know he was that fast.
And he really wasn't that fast. If you looked at him, he was kind of wobbly.
The hole was the size of a trailer park.
Absolutely, and it was an indicator that LSU had no fear whatsoever of him running because of his knee.
Yeah,
and he took advantage of it, and he paid for it. It definitely hurt him. It hurt him,
but it put another touchdown on the board. So
it did.
Yeah,
and that's a big factor because even Alabama without Tua is not the same team. I mean,
no, definitely not
in terms of playoff hopes and stuff. They're not the same team without Tua. So.
But now that the defense, and I can't stress this enough, the defense, for them to show up the way that they did against LSU, I mean, that was a completely dominant performance on that side of the ball. It really was.
Alabama's philosophy in the game totally changed from what they have been doing all year. They came out and they tried to use clock. They did use clock.
And it actually looked like some of the more, the more defensive-minded
3 or 4 years ago, Saban?
Yeah.
How many turnovers did Alabama have?
Alabama had 1 and LSU had 1.
Tua finally got that interception out of the way.
All right. Fuck.
And you know what? It was an ugly interception. I've noticed that about Tua. When he throws one, it's like he doesn't.
It was like a punt.
Yeah.
It was like a punt. I mean, the guy had no chance of returning it. It's like, Tua just took a chance.
I don't know if Tua ever saw him, really. I mean, that's the way it appears when he does make a mistake that he's lost at times, but probably just trying to make
kind of sticking too close to the assignment and not really kind of making the proper adjustment, or it makes the adjustment and it was just the wrong look. I don't know that.
You can always throw it away.
It's that's where the whole the phrase armchair quarterback comes in, because we can pontificate on that sort of thing all day long. It's a much different beast when you're actually standing there on the field with your helmet on with all these people flying at you.
And that's why I say that, because Tua's usually flawless seemingly, and when he does make a mistake, it's usually like you wouldn't think it's the kind of mistake he would make.
Right.
Like he was. I don't know. I guess everybody has.
I think a lot of it was just that LSU was getting a lot of pressure on Tua, more pressure than he was used to.
Yeah,
They did.
and I have to give LSU's defense a lot of credit. I mean,
they played
again,
an excellent game.
Yeah, they held Alabama to under 30 points, which was, some people would have contended was a magic number for Alabama if they didn't. I think we had said on this show 28 or something.
I could tell by the way the game was going when Alabama at half and when it went to 16-0. I knew Alabama had the game.
Yeah,
I honestly didn't think
even if they didn't score another point.
I thought LSU would probably score. They would probably get one, and they almost did.
They missed the field goal,
but,
which was really kind of a chip shot field goal.
But I could not
think
see
it was under 40 yards
at that point. I could not see them scoring 16.
Yeah.
But anyway, fuck this game. Let's get back to Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn and Georgia.
Yeah, because that game's done and over
that game's
with.
don.
Yeah,
Man.
it is done.
Some people
would argue it was done before it started.
Members are awesome.
You are now listening to Smacking Off the Podcast. Like and comment on our damn videos. Subscribe to our fucking channel. I really hate you dumb fuckers need to be told that. You should have already subscribed. Jesus fucking Christ.
Our audio-only podcast is hosted at podcastgarden.com/podcast/smackingoff. Or find us on Google Play Music. Or on iTunes.
Well, give me some of your predictions. Warm me up with what you think.
You talking about for Auburn, Georgia?
Yep.
I think both of them suck. So
Really?
as an Alabama fan, I'm morally opposed to both teams. So you're kind of putting us on the spot here.
I think Auburn's going to have a run game like they haven't had this year to be able to pull this game
right
off.
there.
That was embarrassing last week. Honestly, we had 19 rushing yards. I mean, and I've said this before. Also, I've said it tonight. I don't see how in the world Chip Lindsey's job isn't up for grabs by this point. As poor as our offense has performed, somebody's going to have to take the heat for those 3 losses because it was pretty risky plays and just poor timing.
Well, we all know who's supposed to take the hit for that one, and that's going to be Gus Malzahn. But
hey, did you see Alan Green today said that Gus is guaranteed to be there through next year?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, y'all saw that contract. There's no way that Auburn, which Auburn does have some deep pockets, but there's no way that they're going to do this yet again.
Auburn plays good enough run defense that they could cause Georgia a lot of problems in this game. If Georgia can't get a run going.
And also,
that's where the game's going to be won, in my opinion, is the running game.
I agree.
And also, too,
if Auburn gets the running game going, you're going to gash us. We've shown that all year. And quite frankly, our running game, hell, the boys just got their first, 100-yard rushing game the past 2 weeks. So, we got to get it going as well, and I think that's where it's going to be won.
Well, and in our backfield, Cam Martin's been pretty much invisible all year long.
Yeah.
Booby's banged up. We haven't seen Asa Martin. We're handing the ball to 4 or 5 different guys, so we don't really have anything going, around either. But I do think that's Auburn's wheelhouse, though, is stopping the run. I think that's about the biggest advantage that Auburn has. Is the
low-scoring game.
Yeah, and Fromm really has not looked like the stud quarterback that everybody was kind of hoping that he would be after his performance in the national championship. So, I mean, there's still a lot of question marks there that Auburn can exploit and at least be able to keep the game close. But Auburn's going to have to generate some offense in this game. They're going to have to.
Yeah, we are. Our receivers going to have to step up. I mean, they got Ridley over there. They got Nada. They got Godwin. They got Miko. I mean, they got weapons. Fromm could have a big day. He could hit a few deep ones.
Well, I'll tell you what, Walter, while you're talking, let's go ahead and get you to throw a prediction out there.
I've already got my prediction, but I'll let Cam go first.
Okay, go ahead, Cam.
Okay. That's nice.
All right, my predictions have not been that solid this year, but I'll go. And I got to go with my dogs, of course, but I'll say 37-31.
Hold on now. You said Georgia was going to beat LSU. I remember distinctly.
Yeah, but I was dead wrong.
I said Georgia was going to beat LSU too, but I think
we all did.
I was under Cam's influence at that point.
We did.
Yeah, well, so take mine with a grain of salt this week, gentlemen.
No,
37. So 37 for the Bulldogs, you say?
I say 37-31. I mean, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be higher scoring.
Man, that sounds like a good game to watch.
Both teams are coming to play.
Y'all talked me into watching this game.
Yeah, I might actually watch this one now. Why not?
That's actually I hope we don't give up 37 because I said earlier 35 will win it. And, I can see Georgia getting 35, but obviously we don't want to allow. I don't, Auburn. I don't see Auburn's offense clicking just yet. I think really, I'm predicting a lower scoring game than that, and it's for Auburn's sake.
That means that he's hoping for a lower scoring game, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping for a lower scoring game.
Okay, I got you.
That's probably going to mean what, as you mentioned earlier, stopping the run. If we stop the run against Georgia.
All right, Walter, tell us how Auburn's going to do this.
Maybe we can hold them under 21. So I'm saying 27-20 Auburn. For the hope for hopes of an upset and keep our season alive. So, and this is a much awaited matchup. Look, I had it marked on my calendar after last year's SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
We've been looking forward to playing Georgia again. It's a hard fought game every year. It's a rivalry. It's 6 o'clock prime time. So it's definitely worth watching. I hope we put on a performance that's
Stidham knows a little bit of something about beating Georgia in the regular season, if I remember correct. Yeah,
it can be done, and it's probably going to come down to somebody out coaching the other person. So we got coaching controversies. They got Kirby. You got 2 good teams. It usually comes down to who calls the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
so
that and Auburn always seems to have a golden horseshoe shoved up their ass somewhere.
This is true.
Does anybody remember what?
As a Bama fan, I can tell you I've seen that firsthand.
What was Gus's quote after the Auburn Georgia regular season game?
Whoop the dog crap out of them.
Yep, that's what he said.
Yeah.
But you know what? The funny thing is, and he probably did mean that, in a sly way. But the thing about Gus, that one of the things I don't like is he doesn't cuss. I mean, I kind of like, if you cuss, I'm cool with that. I mean, sometimes you got to cuss. You got to get in somebody's ass.
I wonder if, does Nick Saban curse?
No.
Yes, I didn't think
he's
so.
a practicing Catholic.
Catholics don't curse, do they?
I think Gus is the only coach that doesn't cuss, and that's probably why he didn't say more than that. But
he cussed that day, did he? What did he say? Did he say dog crap?
He said dog crap. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he didn't say dog shit. Yeah. He didn't say dog shit.
Crap out of you.
Yeah.
But that was a great game. We've been looking forward to the rematch. So Auburn fans to be ready for it.
It's coming.
Auburn to be ready for it. We're going to have to play great defense.
I think it's going to be a great game. So.
Much respect to Georgia. They're sitting at 5 right now, so they need to win also. And they're a great team. So
I'm just going to go ahead and
as always.
I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there.
All over less wins.
This segment will go before you guys' segment on the Friday show. But Keith Lee said that Auburn was going to win big. Keith Lee said Georgia was going to win big.
Yeah, well.
Fuck Keith Lee.
That could happen, Georgia's going to have to make some plays defensively, and if they do, they'll probably win big. If they don't, it'll be a close game. Yeah, I think it might be close. We'll see.
All right.
I think it will be.
All right, guys, we're going to let y'all go to bed.
All right,
gentlemen. Man, appreciate it. Hit me up again sometime.
All right, man.
Good luck, brother.
Take care, guys.
Okay, she's got one of Frankie's special dogs and fries. Yeah. Steps to the booth. I can't believe it. She stops. Can't find it. How'd you do that? She's looking for the Heinz. Can't find it anywhere. You didn't. She looks over, sees it. She's coming over.
Excuse me, I can't seem to find any Heinz.
You're kidding. Here, you can have some of mine.
Thanks.
My name's
Heinz. It just doesn't taste the same without it.
See, I work construction. I build things. Do you understand how important that is to the world? I don't know if y'all realize the pressure a man like me's got on him.
Door Hargraves Construction. Area code 304-508-2248. Quality craftsmanship. Affordable price.
I told you 3 times already. The law's on my side.
It's time for Week 11 game previews with Timothy Ray Bailey.
So Clemson at Boston College is a matchup of 2 ranked teams. However, I think Clemson's hit their stride, and unfortunately for Boston College, I think that their biggest strength is running the football with A.J. Dillon, and that kind of rides directly into Clemson's best strength defensively, which is stopping the run. They've been nothing short of fantastic. In fact, 2 weeks ago when they played Florida State, though they're down this year, they have excellent running backs, and they held Florida State to negative 21 rushing yards.
Wow.
So I think it's going to be a tough game. It being at Boston College does tell me that I think that it may be a game for a quarter and a half, 2 quarters, but eventually Clemson's just playing too well right now. They've outscored their opponents like 200-20 in the last 4 games or so. It's been out of this world.
Yeah, what a difference is made to change quarterbacks for them. Because
yeah, absolutely. And part of it's not even just changing the quarterbacks, it's just getting Lawrence more comfortable. I actually think they would be a better team if they still had Kelly Bryant to run some packages with.
Mm-hmm.
But it hasn't mattered because they're just so deep at every skill position. They've got great receivers. They've got really good running backs. Travis Etienne, probably the best running back in the nation this year, considering the injury to Rodney Anderson. And yeah, I just think Clemson's probably the most complete team this year. Obviously, Alabama is right up there in that conversation as well. I do think that Alabama is the better team, but in terms of completeness, I think that Clemson has the most complete team. They're very balanced offensively and defensively and have good special teams. So
too much for Boston College, even at Boston College.
Yeah, I think it's too much. There's a difference when you recruit elite every year and you sometimes find a diamond in the rough like A.J. Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
It would be awesome for that game to go the distance, but I just don't see it. I think it'll be something like 56-21
Gotcha.
Clemson. This is always an interesting matchup for Ohio State because D'Antonio's one of those guys that seemingly always steals one from Urban Meyer. I mean, you go back to from the beginning of the time he's been there, 2013, in the Big Ten championship game back when it was Leaders and Legends.
Oh, I definitely remember that, and that game made me sick because I really wanted to see Ohio State at the national championship game that year.
Right. And then you can even go to 2015 whenever, that famous Ezekiel Elliott calling out the Tim Beck for bad play calling in the post-game press conference.
Yep.
And saying that he will not be coming back to Ohio State.
I remember that.
So Michigan State's kind of had Ohio State's number in weird years. In the last 2, Ohio State's kind of taking from them behind the barn. But what's interesting this year is Ohio State's really struggled to run between the tackles, and Michigan State's biggest strength is stopping the run. So you got kind of a strength on weakness there.
Mm-hmm.
But Michigan State has struggled against the pass, which you have a strength on weakness there.
Right.
And Brian Lewerke is not very good. I mean, I told everyone that going into the season, but people insisted that he was the next coming of Tom Brady, who just decided to wear green this time. And I don't understand why people thought he was so great. I mean, he looked like garbage last year, and he's still garbage this year.
Right.
He didn't improve any. As I told, I think we've had this conversation with Sean at the beginning of the season. It doesn't matter if you return 17 players if they all suck.
Okay, that was for Vergoven, right?
Vergoven, yes. Now, that being said, this game is probably going to be closer than it should be because every game Ohio State's played the last month has been. No upset, but Ohio State wins. I give it a chance. I give it a 35% chance, which is actually pretty large for an upset. But
right.
I say Ohio State wins something like 31-27. The wheels have kind of fallen off for Colorado. They had a 31-point lead against Oregon State and lost that game. And since then, you can tell their confidence has been broken. They're not the same team they were.
I mean, just losing to Oregon State is enough to kill your confidence, is it not?
Oh, absolutely, especially the way you lose.
Right.
If you lose a game because you didn't play your best, it's one thing. But to lose a game because you fell asleep at the wheel and just allowed momentum to kill you,
right?
Especially to a team as awful as Oregon State, that's just really the worst back-breaking type of loss. We actually saw this with Tennessee a few years ago. You remember 2015 when Tennessee lost fourth-quarter games to Florida and Oklahoma early in the year, and they let it carry over where they gave up fourth quarter leads to both Alabama and Arkansas as well. And Arkansas wasn't particularly good that year, and Tennessee ended up being a 9-4 team that looked like they should have been an 11-win team.
Yep, right.
So I don't think that there's going to be much difference here. Colorado probably should be the best team in the Pac-12 South, but with the way they're playing, Chenault, I can't remember his first name, that wide receiver for Colorado is excellent, and he should be able to make some plays for Colorado. But ultimately, and Boulder is an underrated place to play. It's actually pretty tough when they're good. It's rocking down there. They got buffaloes running all over the field taking a shit. So, I don't know that this will be a cakewalk for Washington State, but they should be able to win. However, this is such a Mike Leach type game to lose over the course of his career.
I totally agree. Typically, when things get really rolling for Mike Leach teams is when he drops the ball.
Right. You saw that 2008 at Oklahoma after a win over Texas.
Yep.
You saw that last year with a loss actually at
Cal.
At Cal. You saw that 2 years ago with the loss at Colorado.
Yep.
Or at home against Colorado, which prevented them then after they lost that game to Colorado. They were a one-loss team, if you recall. And then they went into the Apple Cup with 2 losses. That was the year that Washington ended up in the playoff. So the most interesting thing about Mississippi State, Nick Fitzgerald's still not very good.
No.
Just kidding. That's not the most interesting part.
He can run, but I don't know who you can beat just running your quarterback.
Not very many teams. You can beat Kansas State that way.
Right.
Mississippi State's an interesting team. They're a team that, to me, just doesn't deserve to be ranked, but they are. But they do have a side of the football that they're just excellent on. And Mississippi State, for those who don't know, have allowed the fewest touchdowns in college football this year, and that is by itself a very impressive statistic.
Yep.
And that definitely deserves and merits praise. Josh Sweat, and what is the other guy on the other side?
You talking about for State?
For State, they have those 2 really, really good defensive linemen that are going to be probably both first or second round picks.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either.
I know one Sweat. I don't remember the other one. Both of those guys are just fantastic.
We'll call him Bubba.
So Mississippi State's defense is probably better than LSU's in totality.
Right.
I don't think they quite have the corners that LSU does, like Greedy Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think they can keep the score down against Alabama, and they also believe that they can play with Alabama. If you remember last year's game in Starkville, Alabama needed Jalen Hurts' heroics in order to come back and win that game.
Yep.
And to be totally honest with you, I'm just going to say this right. If for some reason Tua can't play or gets hurt, I do believe in Jalen Hurts way more this year than I have in the past. He's looked good in the moments he's played.
I do, but he's not 100%.
I forgot. They were talking about Matt somebody playing if Jalen gets hurt.
That was
which is bad.
In the LSU game. But they said that Jalen could play if absolutely necessary. Hopefully he'll be.
What's scary is Tua looked a little limpy at times in the LSU game.
Well, he did. He's got a sprained knee, and I think that long sprint I think that his brace actually got out of place.
How did he get in the end zone? He looked like he was going 3 miles an hour.
LSU, they had no respect whatsoever for him running because of his knee, and he took advantage of that. He took advantage of that, but he paid the price because his knee hurt after that. You could tell. Like the trainers have said that he has no danger of making the sprain worse.
It's just a tolerance issue.
That's all it is.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of respect for Tua because that was a tough game against a tough defense. Yep. Now, whenever Alabama's defense came to play in that game, and LSU had no chance because their defense was excellent. I mean, I know they gave up 500 yards, but that defense was back on the field every 3 plays.
Mm-hmm.
They were excellent. I think that Mississippi State's offense is marginally better than LSU's. I don't think it'll be 29-0 this weekend, just because of the X's and O's matchup. Right. And that game could have maybe stayed in hand if they had scored, but it makes more pressure. And Joe Burrow we knew going into that game that if Alabama stopped the run, they were in big trouble. And we knew that.
And remember we talked about Florida, that Florida had gotten to him 5 times, and he had no touchdowns and 1 interception. And Alabama did the exact same thing. They got to him 5 times. And he had the exact same numbers. He had no touchdowns and 1 interception.
But anyway, man, I think this game will be different. I think Alabama will win, but I think this is going to be like a 21-10 or 21-3 squeaker kind of game. So Bedlam usually has been an exciting game over the last 10 to 15 years.
I know, and people really get geared up like this game is huge, and it is a big game. But Oklahoma has dominated this series.
They absolutely have. Oklahoma State's been the bridesmaid, not the bride, a whole lot because of this rivalry. They've actually had teams.
They win one every now and then, and people, for some reason, they look at that and they figure, well, they must have won a lot of them in the past. No, they haven't. Well,
right. People think that Oklahoma State's always a game that we could trip up. Every year it feels like somebody important picks Oklahoma State to beat Oklahoma.
Yep.
And here's the thing with this series. Oklahoma owns it like 88-17. Like, it's the most lopsided rivalry.
That's
in
what
all
I was going to say. Oklahoma State has not hit 20 wins yet.
Right, and that's something Oklahoma did in 1939 in this series. So this is a mismatch this year. Obviously, Oklahoma State's had some teams that were more than good enough to win. Obviously, we have last year's really epic game between Mason Rudolph and Baker Mayfield that suddenly the defenses kind of woke up in the second half a little bit. That 62 game. And then, you always have to think about that 2008 game where Bradford gets hit and flies up in the air. And, of course, 2011 when they tore those goalposts down in the stadiums in Stillwater, and Oklahoma State kind of got a little cheated out of the national championship that year. And there's other great games that have just gone back and forth, but the consistent has been normally Oklahoma's the one that wins, even when Oklahoma State's been the better team. 2013 is a great example. Oklahoma State was absolutely the better team than Oklahoma for most of that season. And then in that Bedlam game in Stillwater, Blake Bell has that unbelievable drive where they throw that touchdown pass to Jalen Saunders with the 20 seconds or so left. And Oklahoma goes on to win that game, and then they played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. Or in 2009 when Oklahoma State was a 10-win team and they came to Norman and Oklahoma was down that year and Oklahoma beat them 27-0.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where Oklahoma State can't get out of their own way. It's a mental thing with Oklahoma. Oklahoma's normally better. They recruit better. They should have a large lead in the series.
Right.
Considering the gap talent. This year is not going to be one of those classic games. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
This Oklahoma State team has some strengths that may give Oklahoma issues for a while. They have very good wide receivers. However, the big thing that's hurt Oklahoma this year has been tall wide receivers. And Oklahoma State's wide receivers list 6'1", 5'11", and 5'10". Not too tall, they're quick, but that plays into Oklahoma's strength as Oklahoma has several. All of Oklahoma's 2 deep corners and safeties run a 4-4 or better. So this should be a game that Oklahoma's defense, especially their secondary, should play better than they have. So I do see Oklahoma winning this game handily. It may be a reawakening game for the Oklahoma defense that will have people looking at them a little differently. So I'm thinking something like, we'll go 56-7 Oklahoma.
Are you irritated with something we said on the podcast? Well then fuck you. Call the smack line and tell us all about it at 304-508-BAIT. Don't be a pussy fuck boy. Call the smack line today. Messages left on our smack line will be used at the end of smacking off the podcast episode.
You think it's easy being a carpet?
Don Rickles has new Anso 5 worry-free carpet.
Nice doggy. Can you believe this? Oh, here comes the kid. Oh, shoot. I knew it had to be chocolate. What's the matter, lady? Another bad year for Bordeaux? Don't worry. With a little cleaning, ooh, that feels good. I'll still be gorgeous.
Revolutionary Anso 5 worry-free. The carpet that can really take it.
Okay, you hockey pucks. I'm ready for anything.
This segment is brought to you by College Football Frenzy. For compelling football discussion, find us on Facebook today.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girando, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto d'amor, delle belle turbando il riposo, Narcisetto d'amor.
Welcome, college football fans, to another weekly installment of Congratulations, you lost, and your team sucks donkey balls with Timothy Ray Bailey. This week we examine Jimbo Fisher, James Franklin, and the Big 12 officials.
All right, so let's start out with Jimbo Fisher. He's the one who deserves the slap on the wrist this week, but Jimbo Fisher led his crew into Jordan Hare, which is a tough place to play. Everybody knows this, except for LSU and Tennessee. Just kidding. Anyway, they had a 24-7 lead at one point in this game, and the fourth quarter showed up, and they let it slip away. And Auburn came all the way back to win. And now Auburn's probably going to be ranked because Texas A&M let a game slip away from them that they absolutely had no business losing. Here's why I'm really upset with Franklin. Did you watch any of this game, Doug?
I did. I watched a lot of the first quarter.
Now, when you watched the first quarter, you could notice that Penn State's receivers were winning one-on-one pretty consistently.
They were.
Against Michigan's DBs. You know how often touchdowns happened in that game? Almost for Penn State, they had one at the very end. And you know why they had one at the very end? Because guess what? Tracy McSorley had no business playing. And I know that Michigan's defense is good, and that we knew they'd have an advantage up front. But that's not Tracy McSorley that we've watched through the last 3 years. He was not in a good enough condition to play in that game.
Right.
At all. He couldn't hit. He missed 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And the game was 14-0 at halftime. 2 wide open touchdowns. You know how different that game is with 2 touchdowns on the board?
Oh, absolutely. It's tied up at the half.
Right, and that changes the way the complexion of the game works. Was Michigan better than Penn State? Yes, they were. Mm-hmm. Period. But that game, Penn State has enough talent.
I think
it should have been more talent than Michigan. They have more talent than Michigan. And this is after also that Penn State blew a double-digit lead against Ohio State and blew a lead against Michigan State and almost blew a lead against Iowa the week before.
Right.
Penn State, Franklin, he's relying too heavily on Tracy McSorley. When he leaves next year, this may bottom out. How about the Big 12 refs on Saturday?
You know,
let's start with the.
I've looked at some of the footage that you showed me, but I haven't looked into this real hard. But I'm going to let you tell the story.
So first of all, we'll start in the morning game, the big game of the week in the Big 12, Texas and West Virginia. West Virginia's starting left tackle got ejected for basically no reason. Okay. Pretty much no reason. He argued and he got ejected.
Oh, there was a reason. Texas is probably the team that they would like to get to the Big 12 championship.
Yeah. See, what happens in other leagues is there's kind of a perception out there, and I know the ACC does it because I've seen Clemson get too many favorable calls to not.
Right.
To not
it happens in the SEC too. I mean, I realize that.
The best teams usually get the benefit of the doubt. In the Big 12, Oklahoma never gets the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not saying that as an angry Oklahoma fan. Oklahoma does not get the benefit of the doubt in any officiating. You've watched a lot of Oklahoma games. You probably agree with me. Now, sometimes they don't get in the way, but they don't ever get a TCU that celebration that CD and Hollywood did all year. Mm-hmm. Got flagged for a 15-yard penalty, and then Kevontae Turpin scored a touchdown on a kick. That was crazy. But the Texas Tech game last night, or on Saturday night, was one of the most egregiously officiated games I have ever witnessed in my life.
Well, tell us about the problem spots.
The one that really bothered me from a sportsmanlike standpoint is that the Texas Tech player hit the clearest targeting penalty I can remember, and you've seen the footage, so you probably agree with me.
Yeah, it definitely looked like targeting.
Oh, it was no question. They called it on the field, then reversed it. I don't know how they did that, because that was clearly targeting. He launched, he lowered his helmet, he hit him with the top and the crown in the head. Mm-hmm. That was clearly targeting. There was no question. Parnell Motley gets an interception right before halftime. They wave it off because they say pass interference. The review, I mean, you look on replay, there's no shot that's pass interference. Not even close. The guy slipped, and they called pass interference. There was a 4th and goal where Texas Tech got away with 2 really egregious holds that prevented Oklahoma defensive linemen from getting in the backfield and hitting the quarterback. Mm-hmm. They allowed it to convert for a touchdown. There was a 40-yard bomb, and at this point in the second half, Texas Tech had only 4 total yards of offense. And it was almost the 4th quarter, and he just threw up a 40-yard bomb. The guy clearly did not catch it. The ball slid on the ground. You can see it in the replay. It was clearly not caught, and they, in replay, allowed it to stand. CeeDee Lamb, and the Big 12 actually admitted their error this morning on this one too, Coach Riley, as he said in his press conference. CeeDee Lamb shouldn't have been called for 2 unsportsmanlike penalties. He should have only been called for 1. And Riley said he should have been called for neither of them, in his opinion. So, all in all, the refs swung the game approximately 23 points and maybe 30.
Find Smacking Off the podcast on YouTube, at Podcast Garden, Google Play Music, and iTunes. Make sure to check out the 9 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Friday Facebook Live episodes at #FamilySmack.
Please subscribe to our channel by clicking the small Smacking Off icon at the top of the screen now. Click the link at the bottom of the screen to watch last week's episode.